There's a man I started seeing a few weeks ago. I don't know his name. I've never spoken to him, and as far as I can tell, no one else has ever seen him. The first time was outside a cafe I visit almost every morning. He stood in the doorway as if he hadn't decided whether to go in or leave. He rested his right hand against the doorframe, and his body angled just enough to occupy the space without fully blocking it. I remember slowing down because something about the way he stood there made the entrance feel claimed in a way that didn't invite you in. People passed him without hesitation. A woman brushed by his shoulder without turning her head, and a man walked through the doorway close enough that he should have noticed another person standing there, but he didn't look up, didn't pause, and didn't acknowledge him at all. I told myself I was overthinking it, and when I stepped inside, I glanced back out of habit, expecting to see him still there, but he was gone. The second time I saw him, he stood in the entrance to my office building, positioned in the same exact way, with his right hand on the doorframe. His head was slightly bowed, as if he was listening to something no one could hear. Someone behind me muttered an apology and slipped past, walking straight into the building without so much as a glance in his direction. Another person followed, then another, each of them adjusting their path just enough to avoid contact, but never acknowledging him. I watched closely this time, trying to catch even the smallest reaction, but there was nothing. No hesitation, no recognition, no awareness at all. When I finally stepped forward, he lifted his head and we locked eyes. I thought he was going to greet me, but he didn't. He just watched. And when someone behind me pushed the door wider, bumping my shoulder, I stumbled forward into the building. When I turned around, he was gone. After that, I started noticing the pattern. Not in where he appeared, because that part never made sense, but when. It was always just before I entered somewhere. A grocery store, a parking garage, a friend's apartment building. It didn't matter. He was always there first, standing still in the doorway, and always gone the moment I crossed the threshold. I tried to explain it away. I told myself it had to be stress or lack of sleep. But explanations start to fall apart when they begin anticipating you. And after a while, it didn't feel like he was appearing in doorways at all. It felt like he was appearing for me. The fourth time, I didn't go inside. It was a bookstore with a narrow entrance and a small bell that chimed whenever someone came or went. He stood just inside the frame, and I stopped a few feet away to watch him. People around us moved like nothing was wrong, like the space wasn't occupied. After a moment, I stepped back. He didn't react. I stepped forward again, and his head tilted in response, acknowledging my movement. I stepped back again, then forward. I wanted to see how he'd respond. Soon, I figured out that he wasn't standing in the doorway waiting for people. He was responding to me. Eventually, someone brushed past me and entered the store, and in that brief distraction, he disappeared again, leaving the doorway empty as if it had never been occupied at all. I stopped going out as much after that, because there's only so many times you can tell yourself it's stress before your behavior starts to change around it. I told myself that whatever this was would lose interest if I stopped feeding into it, but avoidance has limits, and eventually I had to leave my house again. After staying inside for 2 days, I finally left. I opened the front door to my apartment, and to my surprise, he was standing there. I didn't move, and neither did he. And for a long moment, we both stood still, separated only by the thin boundary of a doorway that suddenly felt like the most important line in the world. I noticed things then that I hadn't before. The way his hand rested against the wood, as if he were familiar with it. The slight angle of his head, not quite down, not quite up, like he was listening to something beyond me. I thought about closing the door, but something about that felt wrong. He appeared when I was about to enter somewhere, not when I was already inside. Finally, without fully understanding why, I took a step back into my place, and in response, he lifted his head higher than before, and for the first time, he took a step toward me. I quickly slammed the door and locked it. I haven't opened it since, because I don't know what happens if I cross that threshold again. I don't know if he'll be there, or if now that he's learned where I live, he'll be waiting on the other side of every doorway I ever try to enter again. But sometimes, late at night, I hear something just beyond the door, a soft shift of weight, the faint brush of a hand against the wood, like he doesn't need to knock, like he already knows I'll have to leave eventually.